Alright, so it's the 2nd of September 2017. I'm standing here at the foot of Yonge Street, right where Yonge meets Lake Ontario. And in this video I'm going to give you a tour of the Waterfront Trail, which runs along Lake Ontario heading in the west direction. And I'm going to use my Iowa linear recumbent bike with a camera mounted here on the front for that. So earlier in the summer I made a video showing the Waterfront Trail, and I started at the very east end of the downtown portion of it, and I rode as far as Yonge Street where we're just starting now. So this video is a continuation of what we already covered in that video, and I'll try and point out as many landmarks as I can as we're going along. The first one I'll point out is if we were to make a left turn here, we would then go towards, there's a sign for it, actually there's a red light, so I might as well show you the sign. Those blue signs there say the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal, and if we were to go left over there, we would get to the Jack Layton Ferry Terminal, which is a ferry system which takes you across the Toronto Harbour over to the Toronto Islands. And I mistakenly call the Toronto Islands often just Toronto Island, but it is actually multiple islands that are over there. They just all kind of cluster together, and once you're over there you can ride in between them because they've got bridges connecting them. But there's actually 3 different islands you can take ferries to that are just different, spacings apart over there on the other side. So this part of the Waterfront Trail that we're riding on right now is very new, or I guess it's 2 years old now. But before this was here, this was kind of a big gap in the Waterfront Trail system. There is this, these great off-road or multi-use trails that are completely separate from roads on the east side and on the west side, but the center section here, it used to be nothing. It used to just be a road that didn't even have bike lanes on it. And finally they decided to redevelop this area, and they completely tore up everything and rebuilt the roadway new the way that it is now, and dedicated this big section here just for the multi-use trail for people riding their bikes and jogging and rollerblading and all the different kinds of active activities. They can use this multi-use trail, and it's very popular. I think the statistic from the city said that the year after this was installed, compared to what it was here before, they said that the number of cyclists on this route went up by 666%. Very large number. Got another red light here. That gives us an opportunity to point out another landmark on our left, which is the Harbourfront Centre, which is I believe there's some kind of education programming that goes on there. There might even be a Harbourfront school. I'm not entirely sure, but in the summer there's all kinds of different events and festivals and things that go on down at the Harbourfront Centre. If I turn the bike a little bit this way so you can see, there's kind of a main building there with a big stack which says the power plant on it, and we got a green light. Oops. Continue on. So on this road, of course, we're in the lane which is for recreational use, so jogging, walking, cycling. And then over to our right, the next part of the road is dedicated to transit. There's 2 directions of tram tracks, or streetcar tracks as we call them in Toronto. And then beyond there are 2 lanes for vehicular traffic, cars and trucks and buses and all of that. Another landmark to point out over here, actually I'll get off the trail just to show you. This is called the Tsimko wave deck over to our left. There's a wooden deck which actually extends beyond where the land is out onto the water, and you can see they've made it very up and down and all kinds of interesting shapes, which is very popular for children. Let's get back onto our trail here. Now we got another red light. If I pan the camera over to our right, you can see a big white dome. That is the Rogers Centre, formerly known as the Sky Dome. It's where the Toronto Blue Jays play. And in between here and there, you saw also an elevated bridge, expressway, highway. That's the Gardiner Expressway, which is a highway which runs into the core of the city down here near the waterfront. You can see some people coming towards us riding some Toronto bike share bikes. See lots of people riding those down on the waterfront trail, at least in the downtown core part of the waterfront trail. Looks like there's some kind of a festival or flea market going on in the park to our left. And yet another red light. I guess we're not really going quite fast enough to have the timing of those quite figured out. And there's our green light. Over on the left-hand side, you can see there's a big boat with 3 very tall masts, some kind of a sailboat. It says Caledonia on the front. I believe I've seen that boat out in the harbor quite a few times this summer. I'm not sure if it's always here or if it's just here for this summer or what the deal is, but pretty neat, I think. Then over on our left here is the Spadina wave deck, which is much the same as the Tsimko wave deck. And wondering what that noise was. It's a rollerblader with ski poles. And now we're getting a little bit further outside of the downtown core now. This area down here is primarily residential. Now there's a little section here where technically you're supposed to get off your bike and walk because there is no waterfront trail here. It's just simply a sidewalk. But eventually they're gonna kind of build another one of those wave decks, which will go further out, towards the left and kind of occupy more of the water space, and then they'll be able to paint a regular multi-use trail markings on here. And I believe that's already been approved, it just hasn't been installed yet. As I said, this section of the waterfront trail is very popular with cyclists. There's bikes completely surrounding me. More than I can count. For all the ones you can see ahead of me, There are just that many following me behind. We're in a train of bikes right now. Not really the best place to be walking your dog, lady. So we're not going particularly fast in this video, but I think that's not really a problem considering we're making this video with the intent of kind of making it more like a tour. I'm just going with the flow of what everyone else is riding, you know, what their speeds they're going at. This is being filmed on September the 2nd, 2017. Which is the Saturday of the Labor Day long weekend, which is really like kind of the last weekend of the summer for most people. Most of the children go back to school on Tuesday. This is one last chance to enjoy the summer before I got to worry about homework and all that that goes along with going to school. And it's actually a fairly chilly weekend. It's a little bit, I think the temperature right now is about 15 degrees Celsius. And it's been cold for the last five days or so. So I'm actually wearing long pants and a long sleeve shirt for filming this video. It's always a little bit colder down near the water and a little bit more windy too, so figured it was a good idea to dress a little bit more warmly than I normally would, because up until this point I would have just been wearing shorts, my bike shorts, and a breathable short sleeve shirt, like a soccer jersey type of shirt. So this part of the Waterfront Trail has been here for as long as I can remember in terms of riding a bike in Toronto. The first time I rode my bike here, I think, was the summer of 2007. If not 2007, then it would have been 2008. This part of the Waterfront Trail has always been here. Since then. And now we're heading out into towards the water. It's really nice that the sunshine is out today. It's supposed to actually be fairly cloudy and rainy for certain portions of this weekend at least. But when I saw the sunshine this morning, I decided I really had to come out and make this video. Straight ahead you can see sort of a white lattice or structure, which is just beyond where that traffic light is in the distance. That is the structure for BMO Field, Bank of Montreal Field, which is an exhibition place, or exhibition, the Canadian National Exhibition, the CNE. Fairgrounds, and actually the Canadian National Exhibition, the CNE, is actually on right now, and you can actually see over there there's a Ferris wheel and a big tower as well. So there's all kinds of rides and things there over at the CNE. That's on for only 2 weeks of the year. And most of these people in this parking lot that are all lining up for the parking meter presumably are all going over to the exhibition, the X as they call it. Over on our left there's an outdoor concert venue called Budweiser Stage. Just kind of point over there for a sec. That white building. That was until this summer, or maybe last summer, it was known as the Molson Amphitheatre. It's just renamed recently. And then the buildings over there on the left, those are for a venue called Ontario Place, which was a children's theme park or amusement park that I went to as a child. But that's been closed for many years, although they've been doing some work there, and I'm not sure what their plan is, if they're trying to reopen it or anything like that. I know a portion of it, which I think was just where the parking lot for it was, reopened this summer just as a regular park. It's called Trillium Park. Yeah, you can see lots of people over there on the other side of the road, gathered on the exhibition grounds. And over here on our right, you see a whole bunch of bikes lined up. Those are Toronto bike share bikes, which we saw people riding earlier. Over on the other side of this black fence on our left, there's some grandstands, which they must have some kind of an event. Just beyond the grandstands is Lake Ontario, so they must have some kind of water event going on, like a regatta or something. I guess it's part of the CNE. Oh, here's a sign for it. It says the air show guest enclosure. So one of the events as part of the CNE is the air show. So there's fighter jets and things that fly in the air and do all kinds of acrobatics. And I guess it's today. I thought it was later in the weekend. But I guess that's what those grandstands are for. Maybe the grandstands are being used for multiple different purposes. And there's some other event going on today. Get in there. Yeah, National Aviation Insurance Brokers. I imagine what's over there is the air show. That's one of the entrances there. Didn't expect that to be there when I started filming this video, but I guess it's neat to capture that annual event in my video. You know, lots of people lining up to get inside. I've never been to the air show myself. I think one year I could remember, looking out my window or my balcony or something and seeing the planes in the sky, but not from up close at least.
Nice ride, man.
Thank you.
Is that custom built?
No. It's an antique. Can't go very far on this bike without somebody wanting to talk to me about it and asking me The number one question I get when I'm riding this recumbent bike is if I built the bike myself. Which I did not build it myself. But when they ask me that, it makes me kind of wish that I did. For those of you watching the video who aren't already familiar with my recent videos, the bike I'm riding is an 1992 Iowa linear long wheelbase underseat steering recumbent bike, which I've owned since June of this summer. And it's the only bike that I ride anymore. So this roadway that we see on our right, it's a different roadway than the one that we were seeing when we had the streetcar tracks beside us. This road here is called Lakeshore Boulevard, and it's a pretty busy roadway, and there's a section up ahead of the trail where the waterfront trail, which we're riding on, goes very close beside that roadway. And you'll notice actually right here you can see all the crowd barricading along, lining the side of the trail from the rest of the road. And on our right hand side you can see a little white bike that's locked up there. That white bike is what we call a ghost bike. And unfortunately, when you see a ghost bike, what that represents is it means that a cyclist unfortunately was killed in that spot. And that bike actually was put there earlier this summer because in one of the first nice weekends in the summer, there was a child riding with his parents, and I think grandfather as well, and a very small kid, I think 5 or 6 years old, and he was riding in the same direction that I'm riding right now, and he, somehow lost control of his bike, and his bike scooted off to the right hand side and over that curb, and the next thing you knew, he was in the middle of the lane into oncoming traffic, and unfortunately a car hit him and he was killed. So as soon as that happened, or very shortly after that, the city put up that crowd barricading to prevent that from happening. But this trail had been here for, as I said, this part has been unchanged for at least for me, for my recollection, for at least 10 years now, since 2008, 2009, 2007 actually. So it's unfortunate that that's a pretty dangerous spot for a multi-use trail, considering multi-use trails like we're riding on are the kind of places that, parents should be encouraged to take their children to ride, because, riding on a lot of roads is not very safe for young children like that. But it's really unfortunate that it took a fatality of a child for the city to finally improve this trail to that level. It's really only that one section there where the trail is that close to the road, because a section like this, if you go off the trail, you've got a big buffer of, I don't know, 5 meters maybe to right yourself before you're in the middle of a lane with oncoming traffic coming towards you. Look at this huge cluster of cyclists coming towards us. It's a great day to be out riding. Like I said, it's a little bit chilly, but it's actually quite comfortable for riding a bike. A little bit windy too. Over on our left there is a a pool. It's called the Sunnyside Gus Rider Pool, and it's still open for swimming. There's a handful of people in there, maybe 15 or so. If we were to turn right here, there is a route which can take you up to High Park, which is a big, fairly large park in the west end of Toronto. But we're going to continue on in this direction and riding along Lake Ontario. Oh, I can hear some kind of airplane in the sky. I can see one actually too. I'm not going to bother pointing at the camera at it because it's quite far in the distance. But it's a big fighter jet. So yeah, I guess that air show is today after all. I'm sure if you wanted to see a video of the Toronto Air Show on September 2nd, 2017, I'm sure there's all kinds of other videos on YouTube that you could find that would cover it in much better detail than I can, considering I'm riding in the wrong direction. I think a lot of these bike share stations, like the one we just saw on our left, were just added pretty recently, because I know that there was some expansion of bike share this summer. It looks like they've added a lot of them right here on the Waterfront Trail, which I think is a great idea, because lots of people like to ride on the Waterfront Trail. So having a bike share system in your city means that you can decide that you're going to go for a ride on the Waterfront Trail without even, owning a bike. Or maybe you own a bike, but you haven't been on it in 5 years and the tires are all flat and you're not sure what else is wrong with it. Well, bike share bikes are maintained very regularly, so all you have to do is just find a station and pay the fee to get a 24-hour access to it, and then you're on the road riding. I think the amount that you pay for a 24-hour usage is $8. Now the caveat to that is that you can't ride that bike unlimited. Well, you can ride unlimited rides in the 24-hour period, but you have to check the bike in at least once every 30 minutes while you're riding, because bike share is designed for short trips. So we got this big bridge here, which is just for multi-use trail users, and it crosses this fairly large river which flows down from north of the city. You can see there's a person with a canoe down there on this side, and over on the other side there's a person with a sea-doo, and a couple boats out in the harbor as well. Over there in that direction is downtown Toronto, where you can see the CN Tower, as well as a lot of the other landmarks that we visited earlier today. There in the sky you can see one of the planes for the air show circling around the area. There's the fighter jet. Alright, so we'll continue on further in the west direction. It looks like there's a section here which says the trail is closed and you have to do a detour, which I guess is over this way. Hope it's not a dead end here. Oh no, it does continue. Just have to go down this grassy hill. Water is very wavy. Quite a windy day out on the water. But still lots of boats out. You see the waves splashing up over the rocks. I apologize for the bumpiness on this gravel trail in the video. I'm sure it won't be for very long. You can still hear lots of airplane noises in the video. And now we're back on the trail. I think there must be more than just one jet up in the air now. Probably at least two. Oh, here's a person using the bike share. Gonna check their bike back in. Yeah, tons of people out watching the air show. And lots of those people in the boats are only out because of the air show too. Really is not the ideal day to be out on the water, but it's a pretty good spectating spot to be for the air show. It's one of the things that I like about living in Toronto, that, you know, there's lots of different events that happen throughout the year, lots of different things that are going on, you know, big festivals as well as lots of small festivals as well. And because there's so much going on all the time, it's impossible to know about everything that's going on. So when you're out and about doing things, you just tend to stumble upon things. You know, you go out. Today, for example, I went out, you know, I was just planning on going on a ride on the waterfront trail and making a video of it, and I had no idea that I would see fighter jets flying around in the sky. And all sorts of people out there to watch it happening. I guess that's the same about living in a lot of different places, not even just big cities. You know, small towns have festivals and things too. So we're on another detour from the regular waterfront trail. Looks like we're gonna, nope, oh yeah, we have to continue here. I guess I'm going the right way. I believe that this bridge here was meant for pedestrians only, but there was a sign saying cyclists detour this way. We're actually going east right now. I think I'm going right back to where I just came from. So I'm definitely not going the right direction. So I think I made a wrong turn here. I think I'm going the right direction now, because now from here just have to get across this intersection. I think we'll be back on the trail again. Here we go. If you ride on the waterfront trail long enough, you'll eventually find a spot which is partially closed, unfortunately. But I guess the positive part of that is that they're always doing work to maintain it and improve it, so it's a trade-off. Like this bridge, for example. Hopefully one day they'll put a wider bridge in here, which will make it easier to get through. But probably in the time when they're building that new bridge, the old one will be out of commission and you probably have to take some other kind of detour to get around. Some other kind of festival going on in that parking lot back there. I guess it's just a farmer's market, maybe. You can see corn on the cob for sale. Alright, continue on through here. I apologize for all of the creaking noises that you can hear coming out of my bike. This bike is a folding recumbent bike, which unfortunately means that there's a joint where two parts of it pivot, and even though I've got the bolts cinched down really tightly and I've got grease in that surface, there are still small little movements that happen between those two pieces which cause creaking noises. That area we're just heading through there is kind of the entrance to a park, which is kind of further out into the water on our left. It's called Humber Bay Park. I believe I have ridden my bike out there before, but it's pretty much a dead end because it's just kind of a peninsula which goes out and you can't go any further. You got to turn around and come back, get onto the main trail. over there on the left, that landmass which is out beyond where we are right now, that's the end of the peninsula where you could probably couldn't ride your bike quite to there, but that's part of the same land as that. On a day like today, you have to be alert and watching out for people who are looking up and not looking where they're going, because lots of people are still watching that lone fighter jet which is flying around up there in the sky. Pretty sure it's just one. This park is called Amos Waits, or Amos Waits, A-M-O-S is the spelling of the first name. And we're getting really close to the end of the Waterfront Trail, and unfortunately there's no pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. It's just a dead end on the trail. But eventually the trail will continue, and actually that's been approved by council as well. It just hasn't been built yet. I contemplated making this video of me riding in the opposite direction, so our ending point would have been downtown Toronto, but because of the way that the sun is in the morning, I figured that it would be better to ride in the west direction instead of the east direction. So this is the end of the Waterfront Trail. From here you're onto a quiet residential street, but it only goes for one short block, and that stop sign that you can see up ahead, that's actually Lakeshore Boulevard, which is that busy road that we were riding along beside earlier, which in its current state is really not a great place to ride a bike, but City Council has approved some form of bike infrastructure. I think it's bi-directional protected bike lanes, which will get installed so you can continue further in the west direction. Alright, so that concludes my video showing a tour of the Waterfront Trail heading in the west direction from downtown Toronto to Noris Avenue. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already seen my tour of the east end of the Waterfront Trail, there's a link in the description below so you can go and watch that video. Please leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this video, and thanks for watching.